The Marlins, they have bullpen issues, no doubt about it. 6 series in the books, 6 series losses. Peter Bendix, however, meets the media. And what I mean by that, he meets the media GOAT, Craig Mish. Craig sits down with Peter Bendix and asks him 10 key killer questions. We're only a few weeks into the season, but Bendix sitting down with Craig Mish, dishing the dirt. Love to see it from the new president of baseball ops. Tons to get into. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England, and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod, of course. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe and leave a review. This is your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Don't forget, guys, there's a YouTube channel. Hit subscribe over on the YouTube. Join me in the comments, of course. It's all happening there. It's all happening. Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome to the Thursday, 18th of April episode. Unfortunately, we are reflecting on a UK-friendly defeat yesterday against the Giants. It was an early one too, right? Like it caught me off guard. It was a 5:10 p.m. UK start. It was super early. It caught me off guard. I missed the first inning. That's how much it caught me off guard. Unfortunately, that game just epitomized the Marlins season, really. Offense didn't quite do enough. Starter did plenty. Bullpen in a close game ended up letting the club down. It's just been the way the season's gone. Nevertheless, we'll be reflecting on that series, but spending the majority of the time looking at the Peter Bendix, Craig Mish collabo via the Herald. Make sure you go and check that article out. If you haven't already, maybe go and read it right now while I let you know that this episode is sponsored by Monopoly Go. I admit it. I have a competitive side, as you know, and it is as a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, guys. So, yes, the Marlins dropped another series. They have yet to win a series, but it has been more encouraging the last few series. The fact that they've had an opportunity to win a series in the final game of the series, which has been encouraging. That's been against the Giants. It's been against the Bravos. It's also against the Cardinals too, right? So, like, the Marlins, from the problem we had was the first week and a half of baseball, the Marlins in every aspect of the game pretty much were absolutely terrible. Putrid. Effectively kind of gave the season away before they even got out the blocks. Since then, we've started to see the real Marlins show up, and we've seen much more competitive baseball from this club. And the baseball is led by the usual way. It's the Marlins way, which is the pitching. It's led by the starting pitching. And it's fair to say, since the opening week and a bit, things have settled now. The guys are in their grooves. Eddie Cabrera is back. Trevor Rogers looking like a stud. Max was looking like a stud. He's down, but nevertheless, the pitching has definitely improved. That first go and a half through the rotation, it definitely was not optimal. It was kind of epitomized by AJ Puck's start, where he really struggled to get through any amount of innings, walked everyone under the sun. So if we take that just horrendous start, I don't know what happened there. Just that mind madness. Whatever happened, it was just a full meltdown. We take that away, like, the Marlins have been okay. Like, there's talent on this roster. The pitching's there. The pitching's starting to stack up now. But unfortunately, this bullpen is really, we're like 3 weeks in now. Yeah, just about 3 weeks, just under. Actually, we're 3 weeks dead on. And the bullpen has been the one part that has not yet fused. It's not come together as a group. Skip Schumacher's tried to be a leader. He talks a lot about accountability, and he's trying to take that on the chin. I'm not putting the guys in the right spots to succeed, etc., etc. Fundamentally, the guys in the pen, it isn't about, are you in the right lanes? Do you have the right opportunities? Fundamentally, pretty much up and down the pen, other than one or two guys, everyone has underperformed. And there's no hiding from that. Pretty much everyone has underperformed. It's culminated in one of the top guys in the pen, in George Soriano. He's already been optioned. So that's just indicative of how this bullpen has started out. Sixto's kind of struggled. Nardi's really struggled big time. Tanner Scott, like, the walks are back, which is concerning. So the walks are back for Scott. Everything else, like, is Tanner Scott. Like, it's the Tanner Scott we've seen before, but the walks are back. We've had no-name dudes coming up, just filling in innings. Like, this bullpen, it just needs more talent, to be honest with you. And it needs some of the guys to get back to their levels of performance. And that's been the major issue for this club. It's the main single issue when we look at it. What's the biggest problem the Marlins have faced thus far? Just the bullpen just hasn't been able to execute. And as much as Skip, and I admire him for trying to take on responsibility, saying it's about, I need to take responsibility for that. I'm not putting the guys in the right spots, etc. Like, at the end of the day, if there's a close game, you're putting Andrew Nardi in there. You're putting Tanner Scott in there. Like, that's what these guys are paid to do. That's their roles, and they know it's their roles. So it's not about Skip. Not at all. It's about the guys executing. For whatever reason, the pen, it just has struggled. It struggled through spring as well. Like, there were red flags in spring, and this has just carried through into the regular season. I don't know what it is or why, but it's the one big difference maker from last year. Other than that, this is like pretty much a mirror. Like, it's the same roster effectively. And the key difference is Nails pen. Well, poor pen. Let's just go with that one. Nails and rubbish. Like, the high leverage just hasn't been able to perform. And that's the difference maker. They can't win close games. They can't hold leads. That's just unfortunately the root problem here. And they haven't invested really in the pen. We think back to the year before. Let's not forget. Kim Ang went out there and addressed the pen. Went and got AJ Puck specifically. We need a high leverage guy. We're going to trade JJ Bleday and all of that control that came with Bleday. Whether it's useful control is up for debate, but we're going to trade that control of Bleday and going to go and get Puck. One thing I must say about Kim Ang, she definitely could put together a bullpen, no doubt. And to be honest with you, I think once Peter Bendix settles into this, then, considering the background that he has with the Rays, like, I'm pretty confident too, but I don't know if it's just a lack of talent, confidence, I don't know what it is, but things haven't clicked in this pen, and it's been a big problem. We saw it in the first Pirates series. They were swept at home 4 games. 2 of those games were blown that they really should have won. It was like 2 winnable games, really winnable. So that's been the problem here. The pen, it needs to find its groove. The problem is they're so far behind the 8 ball now, like, finding its groove doesn't, unless things take a dramatically improved turn, like they go on a 12-game winning streak and get themselves back to like 500 or above, then it's just going to feel like the Marlins just going to tick along. Like, they were projected this year to be a slightly below 500 club. And when you start like they started, they're basically going to hover along basically 10 games under 500 the whole year. So that says to you, this club's probably going to finish with about 71 wins, which is exactly what I predicted headed into it. You know how accurate I am with my predictions. No doubt about it. Let's hit the ad and then let's get into the meat and potatoes here, because Craig Mish put an article out today in the Miami Herald. Make sure you go and fully digest this article. And I love this from Craig Mish, by the way, because there's been a lot of people asking questions, asking Craig to ask questions, asking the media generally to ask, like, what's going on with the Marlins? What is happening? And so I love it, the fact that Craig was able to get some time with Peter Bendix. And I'm really encouraged, by the way, that Peter Bendix, just speaking about accountability and Skip Schumacher, I'm really encouraged that Peter Bendix is open to a conversation with Craig Mish, the main media man covering the Marlins, as we know. But he's open to the conversation now and is willing to take a degree of accountability. And for me, that's encouraging. We may not all agree with the approach that was taken this offseason. I think a lot of us don't agree. I think we generally understand the plan of where things are going in the future with Peter Bendix and the Marlins. But nevertheless, for him to sit down, spend this time with Craig, I thought was really encouraging. So we're going to get into that in a ton of detail. Before we do that, a couple of ads to hit, and then we will dig into it. So our first ad of the day is our good friends over at Policygenius. Yes, sir. And we'll get the sexy graphics rolling for these guys. Look at that. Let's go. Let's hit it. Guys, and Policygenius. Have you heard of them? I hope you have. You've been listening. You're in every day. You'd have heard these guys. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. And you can talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. Easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. And even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. You can head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. And this episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at Monopoly Go. Yes, sir. And we've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure how you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your head up and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heist, baby, and take as much of my friend's money as I possibly can. Sounds like Avisel Garcia, to be honest. That's right, the smash hit mobile game or mobile game from my American friends. Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. You can play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. You can charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards to climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play Store. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt, on Thursday, the 18th of April. Yes, the Marlins lost another series against the Giants, and they lost another close one where the bullpen underperformed. It's been the main theme, the main challenge for this Marlins team in 2024. Pen hasn't been good enough. George Soriano already optioned. Declan Cronin back in the mix, though. Declan Cronin, he had the ladies moaning again. Yes, sir. Declan Cronin looking like an absolute stud. With Soriano down and Cronin up, maybe he is the key piece here for this bullpen. Wait to see. Wait to see. Anyway, let's get into it. Craig Mish, Peter Bendix talking together for the Herald. Again, tip my cap on this one for Craig Mish for making it happen. He texted Peter Bendix and said, I think we should talk, and Bendix agreed. And that's, for me, again, like a really encouraging part. Let's start with where Peter Bendix is at. Craig Mish asking him, are you disappointed, or how disappointed are you in the start? And in summary, I'm extremely disappointed. The feeling was that they entered this season with enough talent to compete. And although it's not through lack of effort, etc., unfortunately, Unfortunately, it's been a difficult start. So disappointment is there. It's hard not to be disappointed. Good question from Craig and follow up from that. Should you have been more aggressive in free agency and built on the success from last season? A very topical area, obviously. The Marlins basically did next to nothing in terms of adding to their playoff roster, although Jorge Soler was lost, as well as a few other guys. We shouldn't forget Joey Wendell. Obviously, Cooper was traded. Wendell, Cooper, Hampson, Yuli Gurriel. Like, it isn't just Jorge Soler that was lost. There's other guys that were gone. Nevertheless, here's the key bits. Peter Bendix calling out they explored a lot of different options in the offseason, including adding players via free agency. They added Tim Anderson, and he's been pleased with his performance and how well he's fit in. Interesting. I think Tim Anderson at this point, like, he's yet to fully find his groove with the Marlins, particularly offensively. I would say also defensively, it's been a little bit ropey at times. So, he's calling that out. That's the move he's made. He's been pleased with how he's fitted in. He'd probably like to see an uptick in terms of performance. When he then calls out the success of last year's team was built on the pitching, and our pitching remains really strong moving forward. I think that's fair. He's also called out the injuries they've sustained thus far have definitely helped them back. This is the language, though, that we've heard multiple times. We have to be very disciplined with every move that we make, especially within free agency. We've heard that multiple times from Peter Bendix, that specific language. We need to be disciplined. Right move, right player, right time, right price. That's seemingly, for me, I think that's the really key word, the discipline. Not get carried away. Don't get carried away trying to make the wrong move at the wrong time with the wrong money. Don't get carried away trying to invest $50 million into Avisel Garcia. Wrong move. We want to avoid those situations. I completely get it. However, off the back of that, by the way, and I think we've all called this out, the offseason and the free agent class this year, it was almost impossible for the Marlins not to take advantage of some of the price points that were available. Was Peter Bendix too disciplined? There was guys signing minor league deals that were big league players. There were guys signing 1.5 million deals that probably should have got 5 to 10. They're the opportunities that you should be leveraging, but they weren't. In that case, just to end on that as well, I did not expect this start, and I'm very disappointed, but we can't go back into the offseason at this point. So what's done is done. Slow start, disappointed. We can't go back. Okay. With that being said, if you weren't going to be super disciplined in the offseason, should you have been more proactive with trades in the winter or before the season that would have strengthened the farm? Very good topic. It's a question that we've thought about. If you're going to reboot, why not reboot then? I think at a high level, it's very hard. I think it's the optics of that situation are very tough for a new president of baseball ops to be appointed to walk into an organization that has some unique challenges with its fan base and to blow it up immediately. I think that is almost a PR disaster, self-destruct situation. So I think that plays into what we've seen. New guy into the organization. You have to respect what's just happened. Nevertheless, the lack of action, the lack of intent, let's say, through the offseason in terms of adding talent has left them exposed, where potentially a slow start means, things need to shift. So what he did say on the trades, we explored a lot of different moves this offseason, including many different trades. Ultimately, most of those conversations led nowhere, as is often the case with trade discussions. We didn't receive any offers compelling enough to take away from a team that we thought had a chance to return to the postseason in 24. So he puts it out there. We thought this team could have made it back to the postseason in 24. It looks like it won't. And so the question will be now that we know already that this team will not be returning to the postseason, how does that intensify the trade discussion? I think that's a really interesting topic. Let's hit the final ad and we'll carry on because we need to talk about the restrictions or lack of maybe that he was working under. And also what the expectation is for this year. And as well, how things will play out with Skip Schumacher specifically as he is in his final year of his deal. Nevertheless, this episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks. Yes, sir. And PrizePicks is the America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action. While you watch your favorite sports and players, just pick more or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less than and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. And you can get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you would. And as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. So what have you got to do? Pretty simple. You got to download the app and you got to use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, guys, final segment here with me, Peter Pratt, on Thursday, the 18th of April. One thing to call out as this episode has gone on, it's relatively late here in the UK. I've had a game of tennis. I've had a shower, as you do. That isn't the important information here. I've had a wardrobe malfunction. Had a shower, no hair product in after the shower. So I've washed the lid, no hair product in. So the fringe is everywhere. Like, I don't know what's going on with my hair at this point, but it's tough to manage and it's not looking that sexy. I'm not going to lie. For those that aren't watching, flick on over now for a wardrobe malfunction. Curtain nightmares, maybe. Best way to describe it. Anyway, guys, back to this conversation with Craig Mish and Peter Bendix. Again, just to recap the first part of this. How disappointed, very. And should you have been more aggressive in free agency? We explored some stuff, but we are being, and again, very disciplined with our moves. We keep hearing that. Which, does that translate to we're being disciplined with our spending? Maybe. If you weren't going to be proactive with moves, should you have made trades this offseason? Well, we didn't receive any compelling offers, and the ones that specifically we didn't want to take away from the team that we thought could make the postseason in 24. If that view has changed in terms of the Marlins' outlook for 24, then perhaps that opens things up for some trade activities. But they have to be disciplined trades, and they have to be compelling. This is the language of Peter Bendix. Discipline, compelling offers. Wait to see. Really great question here from Craig around the financial restriction from Bruce Sherman in any way, payroll, free agency, staffing. Bendix says, Bruce has provided me with every resource I've asked for. We've continued to invest in the team on and off the field. Fundamentally for the Marlins this offseason, they have invested, but it's been in the off-field product. The infrastructure has been where they have invested. It is where they hope to reap rewards in the future. Again, this all ties into the sustainable future of the organization, not a flash in the pan, once every 15-year appearance in the postseason. The plan is be in the postseason every year, and by probability, luck, and odds, you may well scoop one up. That's the plan. That's the plan, and thus the Marlins have invested tons into that off the field. As a fan, that is not sexy to hear. It's not sexy. These are not the sexy messages that fans want to hear. We have added a load of infrastructure. No. What they want is a big-time reliever and a power stick. But instead, we've got infrastructure. Not sexy. In 5 years' time, we'll look back and go, what great moves those infrastructure moves were. Nevertheless, I think the important thing here is that, Bendix is not suggesting that he's under any restrictions and has struggled to gain any resources from Bruce. Whether that to be true, who knows? Their payroll has shrunk. It's reduced. And so, it's open for debate. But nevertheless, they're being disciplined, of course. Before the season, you stated that this is not a rebuild. Is that still the expectation? Here we go. we now get into the spin around rebuild. Peter Bendix will not use the term rebuild. He has not used it at all. Our goal remains to build the team in a consistently competitive club. We have a lot of talented young players in the organization, many of whom are in the big leagues. We do have to be responsive to our circumstances. Ping. And remain disciplined. Ping. When making decisions that will help lead towards our club having sustainable success at the major league level. There you go. This is Peter Bendix. Discipline is key. Responsive to our circumstances. Let me translate that to you. The circumstances have changed. They will not be in the postseason. We need to be disciplined, but what he's saying is we're going to make some moves. Ladies and gents, I'm going to translate that directly for you. Peter Bendix is saying we are going to make some moves soon because the goal, the plan to compete in 24 is over. And so we now need to turn our attention to the future. It is recently reported that the manager Skip Schumacher had his team option removed. How has this affected your relationship with him? No impact. No impact, and there never would be because Skip's an absolute stud. Skip continues to demonstrate all of the skills and traits that led him to winning Manager of the Year last year. Nothing more to say on that. Skip has not changed. He still is immense. He is one hell of a manager and I absolutely love Skip. And I can see why those guys would get on perfectly. To be honest with you, when Peter Bendix was hired, my sense was like Bendix and Skip could do some great things together. But, it wasn't to be. We move on. Oh, boy. Don't know what's going on with this. Anyway, are there players on the team that are a year or two from free agency that you've considered trading? And conversely, are there building blocks you see in the organization that could be part of the future? Great question. Of course, this is my favorite bit. It's one of my favorite terms used. It would be malpractice on my part if I wasn't considering everything on the table. Oh, boy. After that, you should say, buckle up. Buckle up, guys. Malpractice if I wasn't considering everything. With the goal of sustainable success, we need to have a disciplined approach. How many times can you say disciplined and sustainable success in one interview? Love it from Peter Bendix. But buckle up, guys. Everyone is available. Everyone is available. Love this one from Craig, and I love the length of answer. Are you familiar with the history of the Marlins and how fans could be frustrated with the cycle of non-sustained success, winning, losing, rebuilding, etc.? I've never been a fan of or worked for a team that won the World Series. I love that, by the way. I was going to call that out. For as much as we look to the Rays and that model, they have made the postseason a lot, it's fair to say, but they've never won. The Rays, Moneyball for the Rays, it's never led to a win. With that being said, if it's never led to a win, I'm only kidding. I'm not going to go off on that tangent. That's a conversation for another day. But his goal is to build our organization into one where we expect to have important games in September. We expect to make the playoffs. We expect to have a chance to win the World Series year in and year out. My goal is to build our organization into a permanently competitive team. So basically what he's saying is that by doing what we're going to do very shortly, the plan is to have layers of talent and a sustainable team, so we're going to be good all of the time for as long as we can. We can get behind that, no doubt about it. People get behind that situation. However, the process to get there could be long and painful. If you had one thing that you felt you had to accomplish before the end of 24, what would that be? Well, we need to have a continued evaluation of our many young players. There's a lot of opportunity for players to step up and show what they can be. Show that they can be a part of our future. We're into that analysis phase that Kim Ang called out with Brian Anderson. So there's a lot of players that are on the roster. What this says to me, just this answer says to me is, I walked into the organization. I was uncertain about the direction to go. I maybe felt, okay, let's see if we can do something in 2024. And for the optics, I'm not going to blow it up. Maybe that was the wrong move, but I need to evaluate who I think can step up moving forwards. I think it's really interesting. Overall, I would say well done again to Craig Mish for the conversation and for getting Peter Bendix, and well done to Peter Bendix for taking the time and getting into these topic areas. A lot of people on Twitter in response to this have said, well, he said a lot but hasn't said anything. He hasn't said anything directly, like he's going to say, I'm about to trade Luzardo to the Orioles. It's never going to happen, clearly. But I think the questions that have been asked, and if you piece it together, just about, you start to see what is about to happen. For me, what's happened is, reading this, piecing it together in my own head, Bendix appointed, team just went to the postseason, felt like let's give it a ride, and also the optics of blowing something up immediately when you just walk into the organization, not good. So let's hit the pause button, let's see what we got, and then we'll make some decisions then. If we think we can compete in 2024 and we can catch lightning in the bottle again, then great, we'll roll with it. However, early indications say 2024 probably dead. So with that being said, it's time to pivot, be disciplined, and build for the future and sustainable success. Everyone is on the table. It'd be malpractice not to consider every single guy. What that means is, but everyone that's in arbitration and potentially not in arbitration could be on the table. What that says to me is, as a Marlins fan and a podcaster of the team, is I am going to be very busy this year. There is going to be so many emergency podcasts because there's a lot of guys that have to be moved that are on expiring deals. And there's a lot of guys that are high-value trade candidates that probably have to be moved also. Because in reality, the Marlins aren't going to be competitive in 2025 either. Maybe even 2026. So for Peter Bendix, this is about being disciplined, evaluating talent correctly, getting back the return that is best for the Marlins. He isn't using the word rebuild, but you piece it all together, a rebuild is about to happen. He now has the PR and the political bandwidth to do it. The team is cooked already in 24. If we blow it up now, everyone will understand. If Bendix blew this up before the year, people would be going crazy because we think we've just been the postseason. We've just been. Spend a bit of money and get there. They didn't really spend any. So it's kind of like gone the way you expect it to. But again, to that point, Peter Bendix isn't out there throwing pitches. And frankly, the bullpen has flipped on its head. If the bullpen was anywhere near what it was like in 23, this club is probably at this point hovering around 500. And we're having a completely different conversation. The bullpens let the team down. They carried the team last year. That's bullpens. That's what happens. They carried the team and now they're letting them down. They need to fix it quick, but it feels to me like the damage is already done. And now Bendix has the capital to blow this thing into smithereens in a disciplined way for a sustainable success. You know the drill. Either way, guys, thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Thank you to Craig Mish for always being the GOAT and doing what he does. I encourage you to go and read the article yourself. Take your time. Don't skim through. Don't do it the fast method. Read it, look at the words, piece it together and think. Make your own assumptions. Let me know what you think. Because I've read it probably 3 times. Once while I've been trying to speak into a microphone on a camera too. So let me know what you think. For me, it's all becoming clear about what's going to happen, why it didn't happen, and how quickly things are going to happen, and who's on the table. I love the use of the word malpractice. It's one of my favorite terms. So I'm really glad that Peter Bendix used that. Nevertheless, guys, thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow before potentially a UK-friendly game. And we have a UK-friendly weekend. So there could be some post-game podcasts from me. Wait to see. I look forward to seeing you guys soon.